Hi everyone, please like, subscribe, and share our story to help us grow our community. Thanks. Los Angeles didn't care who you were. It had no mercy, no warmth, not even for the dreamers it lured in with sunshine. For Zoe Carter, the city of angels had turned into a city of concrete and cold nights. She slept with her backpack as a pillow and her brother's jacket draped over her shoulders. At 24, she'd learned that survival wasn't about strength, it was about stubborn hope. Every morning, she walked from an abandoned laundromat on Crenshaw to a diner on Western Avenue. Not to eat, she couldn't afford that, but to wash up in the restroom before another day of scavenging and looking for odd jobs. Her brother Marcus was 15, smart but rebellious. He'd been caught trying to steal sandwiches the week before. Zoe had cried that night, silently, holding him close while pretending everything would get better. That's when she met him. It was a cold Tuesday morning, and the sky had the dull color of wet steel. Zoe was dragging a cart filled with recyclables when she saw a sleek black Aston Martin parked awkwardly on the side of the street near a graffiti-covered wall. The car looked out of place, like a diamond lost in a pile of gravel. Its hazard lights blinked. A man was standing beside it, looking completely out of his element, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark coat that screamed wealth. His phone was pressed to his ear, his jaw tight with frustration. "No, I said I'm not waiting 40 minutes, he said sharply. "Send someone else. I'm on Crenshaw, not the damn moon." Zoe almost laughed under her breath. Rich people had no idea how long 40 minutes could feel when you had nothing. She pushed her cart closer, curiosity overcoming shyness. Looks like your tire's flat," she said softly. He turned. For a moment, she forgot how to breathe. His eyes, dark, serious, and weary, met hers. The man looked like he carried the weight of several worlds in silence. "I'm aware," he said dryly. "Unfortunately, the jack in the trunk doesn't fit the rim." Zoe bit her lip, glancing at the tools scattered near the car. "I can fix it. If you've got the spare, I can switch it out." He looked skeptical. "You can change a tire?" "I can fix a washing machine with a butter knife," she said, smirking faintly. "This is easier." For the first time, his lips twitched almost a smile. "Be my guest." Zoe got to work, crouching beside the car. The ground was cold, the tools were heavy, but her hands were steady. He watched her quietly, occasionally stealing glances like he was trying to understand why someone like her would help him at all. When the job was done, she stood and brushed dust from her jeans. "There," she said. "Good as new." He inspected the tire, then looked at her again, really looked. Her clothes were worn, her shoes nearly torn, but her eyes were bright and unbroken. "What do I owe you?" he asked. Zoe shrugged. "You don't owe me anything. Just, maybe don't park around here next time. Some folks don't like expensive cars in their neighborhood." He hesitated, then reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a $100 bill. "Take it." She shook her head. "No, thank you." He frowned, confused. "You don't want money?" "I didn't help you for that," she said quietly. "I helped because people should help each other. That's it." He stared at her for a long moment, as though she'd just spoken a language he hadn't heard in years. "What's your name?" "Zoe." "I'm Elias," he said finally. "Elias Ward." She nodded politely. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Ward. Drive safe." He wanted to say something more, ask her why her eyes looked both brave and tired, why her hands trembled slightly from the cold, but she had already turned back to her cart and disappeared down the street. That night, Elias couldn't stop thinking about her. He lived in a penthouse overlooking the city, glass walls, quiet halls, not a single sign of warmth. Everything in his life was sleek, efficient, controlled. He was 36, the CEO of a private investment firm, and worth nearly $2 billion. But wealth hadn't cured the silence that followed him everywhere. His wife, Naomi, had died in a car crash 5 years earlier. Since then, he'd stopped living, merely functioning. His friends had stopped inviting him out. His staff only saw him in meetings. Even his mansion felt like a museum, all marble, no laughter. But that girl, that strange, stubborn girl with the kind eyes, had somehow shaken the dust off his world. The next morning, he found himself driving back to Crenshaw, telling himself it was coincidence. It wasn't. He parked near the same corner and waited. And just like clockwork, he saw her again, dragging her cart, her hair pulled into a messy bun, humming quietly to herself. He stepped out of the car. "Zoe." She froze, startled. "Mr. Ward? You again?" He nodded. "You left before I could thank you properly yesterday." "I told you, you don't need to lunch," he interrupted softly. "Let me buy you lunch." Zoe blinked. "I don't think your kind of restaurants would let someone like me in." "I'll make sure they do," he said simply. She hesitated, torn between pride and hunger. Her stomach made the decision for her. "Fine. Just one meal." He smiled faintly, almost boyishly, and opened the car door for her. She slid in cautiously, running her fingers over the soft leather. The car smelled like cedarwood and something faintly spicy like him. They ate at a quiet restaurant in downtown LA, where she ordered a grilled cheese sandwich and ate like she hadn't seen food in days. He noticed, but didn't comment. Instead, he asked questions, gentle ones. "Do you have family?" "My brother, Marcus. He's 15. "No parents." She shook her head. "Died when I was 19. Car accident." He froze. "I'm sorry." "Yeah," she said softly. "It was just us after that. Life got messy." He wanted to reach across the table, to say something comforting, but he didn't know how. He hadn't known how to comfort anyone since Naomi died. When they finished, she thanked him sincerely. "I'll pay you back someday," she said, standing up. He smiled faintly. "You already did. You reminded me what kindness looks like." And just like that, she was gone again, a shadow slipping back into the noise of the city. But that wasn't the last time. Over the next few weeks, Elias kept finding reasons to visit that part of town. Each time, Zoe would roll her eyes, pretend not to care, and then end up talking to him for hours on street corners, in coffee shops, even while helping him hand out food to homeless shelters after he started volunteering quietly, inspired by her. She was witty, unfiltered, and brave. He was quiet, composed, and endlessly patient. They shouldn't have fit together, but they did. She teased him about his rich man shoes. He teased her about her obsession with hot chocolate. One night, after dropping her off near the laundromat, she leaned into his car window and said softly, "You know, you don't have to keep coming back here." "I'm fine." "I know," he said. "But maybe I'm not." Their eyes met. Something unspoken lingered in the air, fragile, dangerous, beautiful. And that was the night everything began to change. Zoe didn't know how to explain it. Elias Ward, the billionaire with the stoic eyes and quiet voice, had started showing up like sunrise. Never too bright, never too intrusive. Just steady. He'd pull up beside her cart some mornings with 2 coffees, or stop by the shelter where she sometimes volunteered. Sometimes, they said nothing at all, just sat on the curb watching traffic hum past, 2 souls from opposite worlds finding peace in silence. But peace was something Zoe had never trusted for long. Her brother, Marcus, had started skipping school again, mixing with the wrong crowd. The shelter's director had warned her. If he keeps up like this, he'll end up in juvie. Zoe tried everything, threats, tears, promises, but the streets had claws. Marcus wanted out of the laundromat life. "You got your billionaire friend," he'd snapped one night. "Why can't he fix our problems?" Zoe had slapped him before she realized what she was doing, then cried all night for it. She didn't want Elias to fix anything. That was the thing. She just wanted him to see her, the real her, not a project, not a charity case. One evening, Elias invited her to a charity gala at the Wilshire Grand. She almost said no. She didn't even own a proper dress. But when he showed up at her corner with a small box and a nervous smile, she couldn't refuse. Inside the box was a soft blue gown, elegant, simple, beautiful. "You didn't have to," she began. "I wanted to," he said softly. "You've been teaching me how to live again, Zoe. Let me do something for you." For a long moment, she couldn't speak. Her throat burned. "Fine," she whispered. "But if I trip in those heels, you're responsible." That made him laugh, really laugh, for the first time in years. The gala was a different universe. Crystals dripped from ceilings, cameras flashed, and laughter sounded too perfect. Zoe felt every eye on her the moment she walked in beside Elias. The whispers came next. "Who's that?" "She looks ordinary." "Is he serious?" She tried to shrink into herself, but Elias gently placed a hand at her back. "Ignore them," he murmured. "They don't know what real looks like." She looked up at him, stunned. In that crowded ballroom, under the light of 1,000 chandeliers, he looked at her like she was the only thing worth seeing. They danced once, slow, quiet. She teased him for having CEO rhythm, which made him grin. For a moment, they forgot who they were. Until someone didn't let them. A tall woman approached, sleek, elegant, confident. "Elias," she said, her tone sharp as ice. "You've been hard to reach." Zoe recognized the look. The type. The kind of woman who lived in glossy magazines. "Vanessa," Elias greeted politely. "Good to see you." Her eyes flicked to Zoe. "And this is?" "Zoe Carter," he said simply. "My friend." Vanessa's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. Your friend." She turned to Zoe. "You must be very proud, catching Elias Ward's attention." "Not many can." "I didn't catch anything," Zoe said calmly. "I just changed his tire." Vanessa blinked, thrown off by the honesty. Elias stifled a smile. But later that night, when Zoe excused herself to the restroom, she overheard Vanessa talking to a group of women. "She's a homeless girl, can you imagine? He found her on the street. This is a phase. Elias always saves strays." The words hit harder than she expected. Zoe stared at herself in the mirror, blinking back tears. For the first time in months, shame crept in that old, heavy feeling she thought she'd buried. When she came out, she was quiet. Elias noticed instantly. "Zoe? I think I should go," she said softly. "This isn't my world." He frowned. "You're not letting them win, are you?" "I'm not letting them anything. I just don't belong here." He wanted to argue, but the pain in her voice stopped him. She left before he could find the words. He didn't see her for a week. When he finally found her again, she was sitting behind the laundromat, knees drawn to her chest, face streaked with tears. Marcus was gone. He'd run off with some older boys. "I can't find him," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He's just gone." Elias knelt beside her, gently taking her hands. "We'll find him. I promise." And he did. He used his private security contacts, tracked Marcus down 2 days later, bruised, scared, hiding behind a liquor store. Elias brought him home, fed him, didn't scold him. Zoe couldn't stop crying. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "Yes, I did," he replied. "Because you matter to me." Her heart stuttered. "Elias," he hesitated, then spoke softly. "Since Naomi died, I haven't cared about anyone. I didn't think I was capable of it anymore. But you make me want to try again." She looked up, eyes glistening. "You're not broken, Elias." "Maybe not. But I'm afraid to love again." "Then let me be something less scary," she whispered. "Let me just be here." That night, under the humming streetlight, he kissed her slow, gentle, aching. It wasn't the kind of kiss that burned with passion. It was the kind that healed. For a while, it was perfect. Elias found Marcus a spot in a youth program, rented a small apartment near downtown for them, helped Zoe enroll in a mechanic training course. She refused to take his money at first, but he framed it as a loan. "You'll pay me back," he said with a wink. In coffee and stubbornness. They fell into a rhythm, dinners, laughter, quiet mornings. She'd show up at his penthouse with greasy hands from work, teasing him about his fancy minimalist furniture. He'd surprise her at the garage with lunch. He began to smile more. She began to dream again. But life had a cruel sense of timing. One afternoon, a scandal broke online. Billionaire Elias Ward dating former homeless woman. Investors panic. The tabloids dug up everything, her past arrests for loitering, Marcus's juvenile record, even the photos of her sleeping rough. Within hours, his board called an emergency meeting. Stock prices dropped. Business partners whispered. Elias refused to hide. "She's not a mistake," he said firmly. "She's the best thing that's happened to me." But Zoe saw the storm he was walking into and the pain he was too proud to show. That night, she came to his apartment, tears already falling. "I'm leaving," she said. "No," he said immediately, stepping closer. "We'll handle this together." "You'll lose everything, Elias." "I've already lost everything that mattered once. I'm not doing it again." She shook her head, voice breaking. "You deserve peace. And I can't be the reason you lose it." He tried to stop her. She kissed him one last time, soft, trembling, and whispered, "Thank you for seeing me." Then she walked out. Months passed. Elias buried himself in work again, but it didn't fill the silence. Every streetlight reminded him of her. Every song she hummed found its way into his dreams. Then one morning, a letter arrived at his office, handwritten, smudged with grease. "Dear Mr. Ward, you were right. I do owe you coffee and stubbornness. I finished my mechanic training. Got a job at a workshop in Inglewood. Marcus is back in school. I'm not mad about how things ended. I just needed to prove I could stand without leaning on you. Thank you for reminding me I still mattered. If you ever need your tire changed again, you know where to find me. Zoe." He read it 100 times. That night, he drove to Inglewood. The workshop was small, noisy, full of the smell of oil and rubber. She was there, hair tied up, hands dirty, face glowing under the afternoon sun. When she saw him, she froze, wrench in hand. "You're supposed to be in meetings," she teased softly. "I canceled them," he said, stepping closer. "Turns out I had more important business." She smiled, hesitant, hopeful. "And what kind of business is that?" "Apologizing," he said. "And asking if I can take you to dinner. Not as a billionaire. Just as a man who never stopped loving you." She stared at him, eyes wide, heart in her throat. Then she laughed, that beautiful laugh that once pulled him back to life. "Dinner's fine," she said. "But I'm paying this time." He grinned. "Deal." They never married, not right away. Life wasn't a fairy tale, and they both knew it. She kept her workshop job. He kept visiting, sometimes rolling up his sleeves to help. They built something quieter, sturdier, built on honesty and choice, not rescue and gratitude. Years later, when Marcus graduated college, Elias was there, in the crowd, clapping the loudest. Zoe looked at him and smiled, that same soft, fearless smile from the day she fixed his car. The City of Angels hadn't been kind to them. But somehow, against all odds, it had given them each other. And sometimes, that was enough.